Dear students, welcome back to this e-Shikshana program with respect to your course Data Mining and Data Warehousing. I, Dr. Suresh, Associate Professor from CSE Department, would like to continue with the further modules that we have supposed to cover. I would like to just remind you that first module as well as the second module, half of the second module was completed during your regular sessions, and the remaining half, the data similarity and dissimilarity as well as OLAP servers, indexing OLAP servers, problems on data similarity, as well as module 3, the association analysis, was covered through the Google Classroom, where I shared various video lectures of mine so that you can go through the topics as mentioned in the syllabus. Now I would like to start your module 4, which is associated with the classification in data mining. And just to remind you once again, in the very first class of your data mining, I had told that for module 1 and module 2 you are supposed to refer data mining concepts and techniques by Han and Camber, the third edition, and for module 3, 4 and 5 you are supposed to refer introduction to data mining by Vipin Kumar. That is, I am talking about these two textbooks. So with respect to Vipin Kumar, introduction to data mining textbook, in that for module 4 with respect to classification, you are supposed to refer the chapters and their respective topics where I have listed here, chapters 4.3, 4.6 and 5.1, 5.2 and 5.3. So these are the chapters and topics that you are supposed to go through with the textbook Introduction to Data Mining by Vipin Kumar with respect to classification. Moving further, we will see the details of your classification, and just again before the prior introduction to your classification, we'll just recall the various data mining tasks or the functionalities. We had listed 5 functionalities or the data mining tasks. The first one was data class concept description or discrimination. The second one was association analysis, wherein we were trying to find frequent patterns. The third was classification, fourth was clustering, and the fifth one was outlier analysis. The first data mining functionality, that is the class concept description discrimination, as well as the fifth one, the outlier analysis, that we have already discussed in your module 2 with respect to data similarity and dissimilarity. Association analysis with respect to mining frequent item sets, we have dealt this association analysis through various video lectures concerned with respect to your module 3, wherein we have used various algorithms like a priori algorithm as well as FP tree algorithm, the FP tree growth algorithm, for finding frequent item sets. That is what is association, wherein I try to find whether given 3 items or 2 items occur frequently together. That is your association analysis. Moving further, we will discuss about the fourth model, which is your classification, which deals with predicting an item class. That is, whether I am trying to find the class label or class value. And your module 5 is clustering, wherein I group the data objects with common interest or common similarity. So clustering is your module 5 and classification is your module 4, that we will be discussing detail in the upcoming, in today's video as well as the upcoming videos. Now please pay attention to this diagram. We can divide this diagram into 3 parts, wherein the first part I will have some input, the middle part, the second part is a model which will process the input data, and the third part is the output data. So this diagram represents the basic model for classification or the classification process. Now we all know that model is nothing but the abstract representation of a given system. So now I am talking about classification model. This classification model is nothing but the abstract representation of classifying or categorizing the given attribute set into some output function. So let me call this input as X, output as Y, and this input is nothing but the attribute set. And again, once again, to remind you back, we have discussed what is attribute, what is attribute set. Your attribute is nothing but the characteristics or a feature or a dimension of a given record or instance. So this record or instance along with the feature, characteristic or attribute will form the data set. That is the input for my classification model, and this classification model will take the attribute set of the given data set and it will classify the given input as a class label, which will be your output. Say for example, The input will be the data set with respect to student data statistics, wherein I'll have various details about your roll number, USN, marks obtained in first semester, second semester, third semester, and the attendance, whether you are regular to the class, whether you are placed or not. They are all attributes. Number of students will be my record sets or instances. Now what is the output? Based on the 5 semester results or 6 semester results, I'll try to classify whether the student in the next semester will get first class with distinction, first class, or say for example your CGPA. Based on 5 semester CGPA, I'll try to find the class label. Or in a simple sense, based on your attendance and the performance in your internals, I'll be able to classify or find the class label that the student will pass or fail. That is what is classification. So basically we'll give a formal definition for your classification model. A classification model or a classifier takes input as its attribute set X, and it will classify or categorize all the input instances to some predefined class label, which I represent it as Y. So I'll repeat the example. I'll take the student statistics, the performance in your internals, your attendance, and then classify whether a student will pass or fail. That is the class label. So now if I take the student statistics as an example, whether the student will pass or fail, the output is of two types. That is, a student will either pass or he will fail. That is binary classification. There might be a scenario wherein other than pass or fail, a student might be disqualified from the examination because he is booked under malpractice, or his result is withheld, or is absent for the particular exam. So if the output, the class label, is having more than two values, then it is multi-level classification. If the output is having two values, binary values, it is binary classification. If the class labels are more than two, then it is multi-level classification. So this classification will make use of a algorithm to classify the given input to a predefined class label output, and that algorithm is called as learning algorithm. So any classification model or any model with respect to your data mining, if it makes use of a learning algorithm, then such type of learning is called as supervised learning. So I repeat, any model that you design in data mining, for example the classification model, if a classification model or any model will make use of a learning algorithm to classify the given set of input to a predefined class label, then such type of learning is called as supervised learning. And the vice versa, if a model does not make use of a learning algorithm, then it is called as unsupervised learning. So a simple example for supervised and unsupervised learning is, say for example you learn through a teacher or you learn through some video lectures, fine, that is an example for supervised learning. If you take Ekalavya, fine, he just had his Guruji's photo and then he started learning on his own. That will be an example for unsupervised learning. So this is the basic definition for your classification model. So what exactly is classification? Classification is the task of assigning objects to one of the several predefined categories. So classification is the task of learning a target function f. This is my target function. The class label is my target function that maps each attribute set x, the input of the predefined class labels y. So basically what is classification doing? All the input sets with respect to where I am denoting it as x will be mapped to some or the other predefined class label y. So in general, a classification model is an abstract representation of the relationship between the attribute set and the class label. So all these attributes and class labels, for example student statistics and whether he will pass or fail, that relationship will be established. Now this again can be explained further with respect to the components of a classification model and the classification problem, the general approach for solving it. The components of a classification problem will have 4 components. The very first component is the outcome or dependent variable. The second one is the predictor or independent variable. The third one is the learning data set. The fourth one is the testing data set. So now how to map these 4 components onto the general classification model. So outcome or dependent variable. So your output, the class label is the dependent variable, and the input, the attribute set is the predictor or independent variables. So the classification is a problem of establishing the relationship between the independent variables and the dependent variable, or establishing the relationship between predictor and the outcome. What is this third component, learning data set? It is nothing but your data set, the input that you are feeding to the classification model, that is your learning data set. What is the testing data set? It is nothing but the class label of a new instance which is not known. So you are using this input and finding some class label output for known instances from your learning data set. For a new instance wherein I am trying to find the class label of unknown instance is called as the test data. Or I think in your previous classes we have dealt about the data set with respect to data similarity and dissimilarity. We have discussed data set, the type of data sets, the attributes and their type of attributes, wherein we have categorized the data set, a given data set, into training data set, validation data set, as well as test data set. Now just to recall, what is training data set? The data set used to prepare a classification model. I repeat, the data set used to prepare a classification model is called as the learning data set or training data set. And the data set used to validate from the learning data set itself, I'll pick some samples and I'll feed it as input, and I'll cross check the output just to check whether the classification model that I have designed or built is working correctly or not. I'll use some data set from the existing data set itself, from the learning data set or the training data set. Such type of data set is called as validation. And for the new instances, to find the class label, such type of new instances are called as test data. This is the mapping of your input to output in a classification model by using 4 different components, wherein I'll have dependent variables as well as the independent variables. So just to discuss an example for your classification model, if you can recollect the software engineering classes, you might have studied some metrics for your software project development, wherein you might have come across one of the most commonly used metric suite to measure the performance of the system that you have built or the number of classes that you have designed. You might have heard about CK metric suite, which is abbreviated as Chidambar and Kemmerer metric suite. I repeat, CK, Chidambar and Kemmerer metric suite, which has 6 inputs such as WMC, abbreviated as weighted method per class, or DAT, depth of inheritance tree, or the third metric NOC, number of children, the fourth metric LCOM, I call it as lack of cohesion among methods. Then we have the fifth matrix, response for a class. Then we have the last one, CBO, coupling between objects. So these 6 different metric suites, I call them as independent variables. With respect to a given data set, these will be the input. So the classification model will take the input of the 6 metric suites. I repeat, WMC, DAT, NOC, LCOM, RFC and CBO, and try to find the output. What sort of output? The output will be a class label. Say for example, whether the given class that you have written is faulty or not. That means it contains some errors or not. What is the effort taken to design the class, or what is the maintenance cost involved in designing the given class or a given project. So they are all output. So the simple example is, you have written a program and you are trying to find whether the class has some errors or not. So that error is called as fault. That is the dependent variable. What are the independent variables or the predictor? The 6 metrics, CK metrics. These will be the examples. So this is the general classification model. Next, we'll look at the classification model and its applicability. In general, the classification model is used for 2 purposes. These are the following. The very first one is for the descriptive modeling. The second one is for predictive modeling. So what is this descriptive modeling and predictive modeling? In a simple sense, if a classification model gives a explanation, or it becomes a explanatory tool to distinguish between the various data objects of different classes from a data set. So we have discussed about different types of attributes, nominal, ordinal, wherein they give just enough information to discriminate one data object with the other. So if any model, a classification model, if it is giving explanation to differentiate between two data objects of different classes, such type of model is called as descriptive modeling. Now what is predictive modeling? A classification model can also be used to predict the class label of unknown records. We have seen here, fine. I have an unknown record for the test data. If I am trying to find the class label for unknown data, the test data, then such type of modeling becomes predictive modeling. So I would like to repeat once again. If I am trying to find the class label for a given data set, it is classification. And if I am trying to find the class value, it becomes predictive. So a classification model can be used to predict the class label as well as class value. If I am trying to find the class label, it is classification. If I am trying to find the class value, say for example, trying to find whether a student will pass or fail in the examination, is classification. By how many marks will he pass? By how many marks will he fail? Is an example wherein I am trying to find the class value. Such type of classification becomes example for predictive modeling, else it's a descriptive modeling. So in case of classification, it can be treated as a black box that automatically assigns a class label where when presented with attribute set of a unknown record. So what is black box? I think in your software testing or software engineering you might have studied about white box testing, black box testing. So this classification model will act as a black box. That means the contents of a classification model, what is the processing happening, will be hidden to the input as well as output process. So what exactly will the classification model do as a black box? It will just map the given set of inputs to a predefined output, the class label y, that is classification, and this classification model becomes a black box. That means the contents of a classification model are hidden. So we'll just look at a data set with respect to a classification problem, and this data set is with respect to the vertebrate classification problem. I hope you know the difference between vertebrate and non-vertebrates. Fine. Mammals having bones will be classified as vertebrates. Mammals without bone will be classified as invertebrates. So we'll look at the data set. The data set as the vertebrate name. This is nothing but the number of instances, number of records, or number of samples, examples. They are all one and the same. I repeat, the vertebrate name is the column heading for the record RID, or number of instances, or samples, or examples. Say for example, human, python, salmon, they are all examples for mammals. They might have bone, they might not have bone. So based on that, we'll be classifying, and that is nothing but my class label. This is the class function. And I think if you can recollect your regular classes wherein we started with respect to data set, the very first example we looked at a data set having 10 instances, whether and 3 attributes. The attributes were whether he is a homeowner or not, whether what is its marital status, whether he is single, married, or divorced, what is his income. So all these were the attributes and record instances, and we had the class label for your target function, whether he will cheat or not, whether is a default or yes or no. Similarly, we have prepared a data set for vertebrate, wherein body temperature, skin cover, gives birth, aquatic creature, aerial creature, whether that creature has legs or not, whether it hibernates or not. That means it takes rest during summertime or winter time. That is what we call it as hibernate. I think being computer science students, you might be knowing you have a sleep option, you have a hibernate option in your system. Basically the same characteristic will be applicable to a mammal also. And based on these attributes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 attributes, we'll try to find the class label. How? We'll see with an example. Now say for example, we know vertebrate name, a human being, fine, is obviously a human being is always warm blooded, his skin is covered by hair, human beings reproduce, is not an aquatic creature, is not an aerial creature also, and obviously he has legs, and he does not hibernate. That means for a maximum period of 3 months or 4 months, either in summer or winter time, he doesn't go into a deactivated mode. That's what I can define hibernate as. and such type of creatures are called as mammals. Similarly, for python, whale, frog, n number of instances we have taken here, and I'll find the class label. Now how to find the class label? We'll just look at an example. Now here I have taken the same diagram as two copies. I have differentiated into part A and part B. Why is the differentiation done? We'll see one by one. I have taken 4 animals here. Fine, basically I am classifying butterfly as an animal because if you take the classification of human beings as well as various animals, we all come under mammals. We have subdivisions, and human beings are generally called as Homo sapiens, and hence I am taking butterfly as a animal here with respect to your vertebrate classification. Now if I ask you to pick the odd man out from the first part of the diagram as well as the second part of the diagram, you will obviously find or pick butterfly as the odd man out. Fine. Why? Because the first animal, the deer, the second one fish, and the fourth one lion, fine, they all have bones. That means I call them as vertebrates, whereas your butterfly will not have bones. So this is a negative example, whereas deer, fish, and lion are example for positive instance. Your butterfly becomes negative instance. That is what I have done here for deer, fish, and the lion. The fourth instance I have marked it as positive. First, second, and fourth I have marked it as positive, whereas the third instance I have marked it as negative because butterfly doesn't have bones, hence it's a odd man out. This becomes a negative instance, and the first, second, and fourth become positive instance. So I am looking at the absence of a feature or a characteristic or a attribute. What is that attribute? Bones in an animal are missing. If it is missing, I am looking for absence of an attribute. Then I will classify it as negative instance, the remaining 3 as positive instance. If you look at the second part of the diagram, I have marked butterfly as positive instance, the remaining 3 deer, fish, and lion as negative instance. Why? Because I am looking at whether the presence of a attribute or a feature is not there or not. In this case I call it as affirmation. In this case I call it as negation. Or in a simple sense, just to recall how the data set is prepared, where I am saying it is a mammal, it's a reptile, it's a fish or not. If I am looking for the presence of a attribute or a feature or a characteristic, in this case bone, whether deer has bone, yes, it is marked as positive instance. Fish has bone, yes, positive instance. Butterfly has bones, no, negative instance. Lion has bones, yes, positive instance. Such type of classification wherein I am looking for presence of a characteristic or a feature is called as affirmation. In this case I am looking for absence of a feature. Yes, bones are absent in butterfly, but I am still considering it as a positive instance. Such type of classification is called as negation. So based on this process of finding the positive instance or negative instance, I have prepared this data for vertebrate classification problem. So I hope you have understood how to find the positive instance as well as negative instance for a given data set in preparing or finding the class label. So next we'll look at the general approach involved in classification. What are the stages involved? How is the classification model built? How is the classification model finding the class label of a new instance? We'll look at that process. So here we have a diagram. Please make a note of this. We can see the diagram consists of the training set, it has testing data, then it has a process of induction, it has deduction. I have prepared a learned model or a learning model which uses a learning algorithm. So when a model is using learning algorithm, it is called as supervised learning. Now I have designed a model. This has to be validated using validation dataset. So we'll look at the classification problem stage by stage. First I'll take a training set which consists of 10 instances or records or samples, and each of the record is associated with a class label. The class label is unique, either it has no or it has yes. So there are 3 attributes, 1, 2 and 3. Attribute 1 is taking 2 values, yes and no. So attribute 1 is a binary attribute. Attribute 2 is taking 3 values, large, medium and small, so it's a discrete attribute. Attribute 3 is taking real value numbers, so this is continuous attribute. And your target function, the class label, is taking 2 values, so it's a binary classification. So whatever model I'm designing now or building the classification model, it holds good for binary classification. So I'll prepare a learning model wherein the learning model, that means it will learn by its own example, wherein I'll make use of learning algorithm. What are the learning algorithms available? We'll discuss in the next video lectures. As of now, a learning model will make use of a learning algorithm, hence we called it as supervised learning. It will learn the model from the existing training data set itself. This existing training data set will be used to prepare the model by the process of induction. I think in your basic mathematics you might have studied about induction. It is the step-by-step method to prove a statement that it is true for any given theorem or property, wherein it will hold good for all natural numbers, a set of numbers. So, or one more example for your induction is the moment you take admission and in the very first day you would have been taken to auditorium and they would have given a description of the college, what course you are learning, what will be the scheme, what will be the syllabus, all those details with respect to hostel, transport facilities, administrative facilities, they will introduce you to the college. That is nothing but induction itself. So my learning model will introduce or learn by itself by looking at the training data set. So as I've told, a training data set is nothing but the data set used to prepare a classification model, and that classification model is prepared by using a learning algorithm as well as the process of induction. So once this model is prepared, I am supposed to see the model that I have prepared or designed is working correctly or not. This will be done by using validation data set. That means out of these 10 instances itself, I'll take couple of samples. Say for example, there are 10 samples, 30% of it, that means 3 samples, I'll use it for validation, and I will feed this as 3 instances from this as input. That will be my validation data set, and I'll give the input. Say for example, attribute 1 is equal to no, and attribute 2 is small, and attribute 3 is 90K, and the output of this model should be yes. If I get the output as yes for all the 3 instances, that means for my validation data set, that means that the model that I have designed is working correctly. And for any of the one instance from the validation data set, if the model fails to give the correct result as yes, that means instead of yes it might give no. For 6th instance, the output is supposed to be, the expected output is supposed to be no, but the observed output will be yes, then the model that I have designed is not correct. So basically I have validated, and now I find that the model that I have designed is correct. Then I'll apply the new data. That new data or new instances are called as testing data set. So you can see for the next 5 records, starting from record 11 to 15, I don't know the class label, whether they will belong to no or they will belong to yes, and that process is called as deduction. Fine. So I repeat, for record 11 to 15, 5 instances are there. The class label is unknown, but for record 1 to 10, the class label yes or no is known. That becomes training data. And for classes wherein the class label is not known, that becomes testing data. And the class label for the testing data by the model that I have prepared will be applied through the process of deduction. And I think in your basic mathematics you might have heard about the term deduction, deriving things, fine, or it's the process of finding a conclusion, finding the end result, drawing the conclusion for unknown or assumed values is called as deduction. So by the process of deduction, by using the classification model that I have designed, I'll find the class label for new instances, because the attributes and their attribute value pairs from the training data set will match to testing data set. So by using the existing data set for unknown data set or for new instances, how will my classification model behave? in finding the class label of new instances is called as classification problem, and that is what we have discussed through this slide, wherein by using the existing data set, which I call it as training data set, by the process of induction introduce this data to the model while using a learning algorithm. I'll prepare a model that is called as classification model, and from this training data set itself I'll take some samples and I'll see whether the model that I've designed is correct or not, working correctly or not. That is called as validation. And the process of finding class label for new or unknown instances, or I call it as testing data, through the process of deduction I'll find the class labels. That is the second part of your classification. Basically you can divide your classification model or designing a classification model into two parts. One is the induction part, the other one is deduction, wherein induction part you'll prepare the classification model. In the deduction part, for new instances you'll try to find the class label. This is the approach followed by any classifier. A classification model, I call it as classifier. What is classification problem or a classification model? A model that is used to find class label of a new instance is called as classification or a classifier. A classifier is nothing but a model which classifies new instances. So don't get confused with respect to a classification model or a classifier. Fine. So now I said I'll validate my model using the existing training data set itself, and I'll find the class label for new instances. A class label for new instance might be no or yes in this example that I've taken. Whether whatever class label that has been found by the classification model, say for example for 11th instance it will be no, for 12th instance it will be yes, whether the value of the class label of no and yes for 11th and 12th record respectively is correct or not, how will I find it? I have to verify, right? This is validation. Now I have to do verification whether for the new test data set it is finding the class labels correctly or not. I am supposed to find, and that process of evaluating or verifying can be done by using certain performance parameters to evaluate the classification model that I have designed. So in the next slide we'll see what are the performance parameters available. So here we have a table here wherein I have the actual class as well as predicted class. Now we'll try to differentiate what is actual class, what is predicted class. Fine. Now if you look at this training data set, fine, I have 10 instances. Each and every instance has a class value. It is having no, it is having no. Second instance, similarly all the 10 instances are having either no or yes value. So these no or yes values are actual values. These are actual values. Once I apply these actual values to the classification model, and for the new instances I find the class label. So it is supposed to be no for 11th record, yes for 12th record. Whether I am getting exactly no, whether I am getting exactly yes is predicted value. So for the existing training data set, I know whether the class is having value of yes or no. In this case I am taking the yes value for a class as 1, 0 for no, or positive or negative. Same thing for predicted class, whether actual values and predicted values, observed values, you can call predicted as observed values, whether it is yes or no. I am using the table, and this table is used for evaluating the performance of the classification model that I have designed, and hence the name for this table with respect to classifier or a classification model is called as confusion matrix. And I think if you pay attention to this table, you have used this table in evaluating the association rules also. It is called as contingency table, two-way contingency table, one and the same. In your association analysis we call this as two-way contingency table. In case of your classification or prediction we call this as confusion matrix, wherein a class with value 1 indicates it is yes, the class label is yes. A class with value 0 indicates the class label is no. So these are the actual values. Fine. What is predicted values? After applying a classifier, after classification, this is the classification for new values. I am trying to find the class label. After applying the class label, again I will have a set of positive classes 1 or set of negative classes denoted as 0. and I'm using these values f11, f10, f01 as well as f00 for the relationship between actual class and predicted class. So f indicates the frequency, wherein f11 indicates that the class is positive. That means the target class is positive or negative. In this case I am talking about f11. So f11 indicates that, say for example, fifth record is yes. So f11 indicates the actual class. Fine. The first digit in f11 indicates actual class. The second digit indicates predicted class for all these four instances, f11, f10, f01, f00. The first digit indicates the actual class value, second digit indicates the predicted class value. Now f indicates frequency. That means f11 indicates the number of times that the actual class value is 1 and the predicted class value also is 1. Fine. I repeat, f11 indicates the number of times or the frequency wherein the actual class as well as predicted class are both same. That means, for example, with respect to fifth record, before classification the class label is yes. After classification also for record 5 the class label is yes. Then I'll increment the count of f11 by 1. Second, I'll again go for 10th record. 10th record class label is yes. Again after classification, if it remains same, yes, that means before classification, after classification, if the class label remains same as yes, then again I'll increment f11. That means plus 1, plus 1, 2. So I'll keep on incrementing. So basically I repeat once again, f11 indicates that the class label for class 1 before classification, that means the actual class, and after classification, that means predicted class, are both equal, that is yes. Or f10 indicates the class label for a given record instance before classification is 1, after classification it is 0 or no. Similarly, f01 indicates that the class label before classification was negative or 0. After classification, the predicted class, it has become 1. Similarly, f00 indicates before classification as well as after classification, that is for actual values as well as for predicted values, it remains same. That means it will be negative itself. This is my confusion matrix. So I repeat, as the name itself indicates, there is some confusion here with respect to the notations or the terminologies. But if you can keenly observe and see the notations for it, it is very simple. There is no confusion. Hence I repeat it once again. f11 indicates the frequency of observation wherein the class label before classification, the actual class, and after classification, the predicted class will remain same, 1, 1, that is f11. Before classification it is 0, after classification it is 1, then f01. Before classification it is 1, after classification it is 0, f10. Before classification, after classification both are 0, f00. This is your confusion matrix. Now from this confusion matrix and the frequency of association between the actual class and predicted class, I am supposed to find the accuracy, and accuracy is defined as the number of correct predictions divided by total number of predictions, or in a simple sense, how to find attendance of a given student for a particular USN. It is easy. It is very easy. How to find the attendance? Total number of classes that a student has attended divided by total number of classes engaged by the faculty. That will give accuracy. The reciprocal of it, the error rate. Presence, number of total class attended. Absence or the error rate, total number of wrong predictions or total number of classes that a student is absent divided by total number of classes engaged by the faculty. So 1 minus accuracy will give me error rate. As simple as that. So I define accuracy as number of correct predictions divided by total number of predictions. Total number of predictions is f11 plus f10 plus f01 plus f00. What are total number of correct predictions? it is equal to f11 plus f00. That's what we'll see in the formula. So accuracy, number of correct predictions divided by total number of predictions. So total number of correct predictions are f11 plus f00, f11 plus f00 divided by total number of predictions. What is total number of predictions? Add all these four frequencies, f11, f11 plus f10, f10 plus f01 plus f01 plus f00. Same thing. How is error rate defined? 1 minus accuracy, or total number of correct predictions if you subtract it with 1 will give me total number of wrong predictions divided by obviously total number of predictions. What are total number of wrong predictions? f01 plus f10. That's what I've done. f10 plus f01 divided by again total number of predictions. Add all these four frequencies will give me total number of frequencies. So to evaluate the given classifier, I need the relationship between actual class and predicted class. Since it's a binary classification, I have two values, 1 and 0, yes or no, pass or fail, before classification, after classification. The result, the relationship is established using the contingency table or confusion matrix. Both are one and the same, don't get confused. Fine. So accuracy, I have defined the definition. For error rate, I have given the definition, and mathematical formulas for accuracy and error rate also is respectively given here. So you need not worry about the derivation, how these formulas have come up. So it is basically from a research article published with respect to Kagathi Kettle. Fine. Performance evaluation of a model. If you can refer that paper, you'll get these details. So need not worry about the derivation. Just remember the formula for accuracy and error rate. Now we'll see an example how to calculate error rate before classification as well as after classification. Now before classification, I have a table here wherein I have again the relationship between actual class and predicted class. I am taking class 1, class 0 before classification as well as after classification. Now if you can look at these values, fine, 777 and 188. I have taken class as equal to 1, class as equal to 0. Now basically, while explaining your predictor terms, fine, in this slide, the previous slide, we have talked about dependent variables and independent variables, and we have discussed about the independent variables such as your CK matrix, WNC, DAT, NOC, LCOM, ROFC, CBO, and the independent variable such as your effort or fault. I have defined fault as the mistakes committed during coding. Mistake is an error and manifestation of error is fault. So if I am taking a class value of 1, it indicates that the class is not faulty. I repeat, if I am taking the class value as 1, it indicates that the class or the program that you have written, that class is not faulty. That means it does not contain any errors. If I am writing class as 0, it indicates that the class that I have written has some faults. How many faults we are not discussing. So totally I have taken a data set with respect to Apache 1.6, the Camel version. You need not worry about the data set, fine, because it's just for your reference. I have taken a data set wherein it has 965 instances. That means the number of records are 965, and I find that among those 965 classes, 777 are not faulty. That is, class label is equal to 1, and I find that 188 classes are faulty. The class value is 0. So totally, if I add 777 and 188, I'll get 965 classes. So how to find accuracy now? Add f11 value plus f00 value. That is what, right? Number of correct predictions. So 777 stands for f11 and 0 stands for f00. So 777 plus 0, I'll get 777 divided by total number of predictions. Add all these four frequencies. So if I add all these four frequencies, I'll get 965. So 777 divided by 965, I'll get the accuracy as 80.5%. That means before classification, the accuracy of the model that I have designed for 965 classes consisting of 777 not faulty classes and 188 faulty classes, the accuracy rate is 80.5%. Now if I use a classifier and I apply the classification model that I have designed, I find that there are some minor changes into the classification model that has happened. So before classification, the frequency value of F11 was 777, now it is 767. How these values have changed, you need not worry, this is just for your reference, fine. So before classification, the value of F11 was 777, now it is 767, and F10 was 0, after classification it is 10. Similarly, F01 value before classification was 188, after classification it is 8. So how to find accuracy now? It is F11 plus F00. 767 plus 8 will give me the value of 775 divided by total number of predictions. It is 965. If I do, I'll get a accuracy rate as 80.3. So before classification it was 80.5. After classification it is 80.3. That is 0.2 difference. You might ask me a question, sir, 0.2 difference, will it make a huge impact? Yes. When there are 965 classes, 0.2% decrease in number of errors, accuracy has increased. That means error rate has decreased. That means the model that I have built is very good in classification. Now what does this indicate? I said before classification 777 classes are not faulty. Now I am saying after classification F10, that means initial class was 1, after classification it is 0. That means initially it was not faulty, after classification it is faulty. So what does that mean? 10 classes were misclassified as not faulty, wherein now they are faulty. I told, right? 1 indicates the class is not faulty, 0 indicates faulty classes. So before classification I said 777 are not faulty. Now I am saying only 767 are not faulty, 10 are faulty. That means 10 classes were misclassified as not faulty, wherein they are supposed to be faulty. Now in the other instance, I said there are 188 faulty classes. 0, fine, 0 indicates faulty classes. I said 188 are faulty. Now I am saying only 180 are faulty. That means 8 classes were misclassified as faulty, wherein they are supposed to be misclassified as not faulty. That means 8 were not faulty, but they were misclassified as faulty. So that is why I am adding 767 plus 8, F11 plus F00. So I add them, I get 775 divided by total number of predictions, it is 965. I get the accuracy as 80.3. This is how I can evaluate the given classifier. So this slide is very important for your entire third module. So I would request you to practice this once again. How to find error rate before classification, after classification, how to extract accuracy and error values from the confusion matrix or the contingency table. What does F11 indicate, F00 indicate? You kindly go through that, and then you can know how exactly you can calculate accuracy before classification and after classification. Now the same contingency matrix or your confusion matrix can be represented in a alternate form or a technical form, wherein I represent F11 as TP, F10 as Fn, F01 as FP, and F00 as Tn, where TP indicates true positive, Fn indicates false negative, FP indicates false positive, Tn indicates true negative. What exactly is true positive? Refers to whether modules are correctly classified as faulty modules or not. That means before classification they were not faulty, after classification also they are not faulty. That value will become true positive. That means if you look at the data set which I considered with 10 instances, before classification also it is yes, after classification also it is yes, such type of classes are called as true positive classes. What are false positive classes? Before classification they were faulty or the class label was no, after classification they have become not faulty or the class label has become positive. That is false positive classes. Similarly, true negative, before classification they were positive, after classification they have become negative. That is true negative. Before classification also they are no or faulty, after classification also they are no or they are faulty, then that is called as false negative, and the description is given. Basically, true positive, these values, fine, the frequency values will define whether the class labels before classification and after classification they are remaining same, whether yes is remaining as yes, yes is changing to no, or no is changing to yes, or no is remaining as no respectively, are nothing but your true positive, false positive, true negative and false negative values. So this is the description for your two-way contingency table as well as how to evaluate the performance of a given classifier. In the next slide we will see the general properties of a classifier or a classification model. The very first property is the no parametric assumption. What do you mean by no parametric assumption? That means it does not make any prior assumptions, no assumptions at all. As soon as it gets the training data set, it will apply the learning algorithm as well as the process of induction, and then with the deduction it will find the class label of a new instance. By default it will not make any assumptions on its own. That's what I define it as no parametric assumption. Second, can cope up with any type of data. That means we have discussed different types of data sets, fine. Recorded data, transaction data, documented matrix, we have discussed about graph based data, we have discussed about time series data, spatial data. For any types of data set, my classification model is suitable. Since it has only two steps, the induction process as well as the deduction process, it is easy to understand or comprehend. It is very simple process. Splitting variables by exhaustive search of all possibilities. That means while preparing the classification model, it will look at all the instances. If there are n number of instances, all the n instances will be used to prepare the classification model. That is what I call it as exhaustive search. Handles complex interactions as well as. That means what is complex interactions? If there are n number of records and each record has n number of attributes. In the data set that we have considered, I have only 10 instances, 10 records and only 3 attributes. A data set might have n number of records and each record might have n number of instances. Such type of data set also will be handled. That is what I call it as complex interactions, and it is robust to outliers. In case of your data similarity and dissimilarity, we have discussed about outliers, wherein it will give the differentiation between the lower bound as well as the upper bound. It will give me the 25th percentile or the Q1 quartile, Q2 the median value, Q3 the 75th percentile, the Q4 the 100th percentile. So it will be able to distinguish the data set. So robust to outliers. That means if any noisy data is there, then also my classification model will work. And it provides an estimation of misclassification rate. That is what we saw. We found the accuracy values, we found the error rate also. It will give the estimate, the exact values are near about the optimal values. That's what I'm saying. A tree will be split. What is the tree? We'll see in your further classes. Will be split, and I'll be able to find the near exact value of the misclassification, the error rate, or the accuracy value of the given classification model. So these are the general properties of the any given classification model. Next, we'll look at the classification techniques. I have listed around 6 classification techniques: the decision tree based method, the rule based methods, memory based reasoning, artificial neural network, Naive Bayes and Bayesian belief network. Next we have support vector machines. So if you can keenly look at this slide, topic 1, 2 and 5th topic, I have highlighted the wordings in bold. That means with respect to your syllabus, that means your syllabus recommends you to learn only about decision tree methods, rule based methods and Bayesian belief network, and you can't understand Bayesian belief network without Naive Bayes algorithm. So we'll discuss Naive Bayes and then we'll move to the Bayesian belief network, and support vector machine is not included in your syllabus. So I repeat once again, only decision tree based methods, rule based methods, the Naive Bayes and Bayesian belief network will be discussed in your module 4 as part of your classification models. So these are the topics with respect to your classification techniques that we'll be discussing in module 4. So in the next class we'll be discussing about the decision tree based methods, wherein we'll discuss about decision tree used as a classification method to find the class label of new instances. Fine. So in the remaining videos or the upcoming video lectures, we'll be discussing about decision tree, rule-based methods, and naive as well as Bayesian belief networks. So just to conclude, in today's class, we have discussed the basic definition of classification model, wherein a classification will take a data set having n number of instances as well as attribute set, and it will categorize or classify into a target function or to find the class label of a predefined class. That is your classification. And we have seen what is the general classification model involving two-stage process of induction as well as deduction. Classification model prepared using the existing training data set, and once the model is ready, I validate whether it is working correctly or not by using the training data set with some samples of it, which I call it as validation data set. And for new instance, I try to find the class labels, and those new instances are called as your testing data set. And then we saw how to evaluate your given classification model using the contingency matrix or the confusion matrix, their respective frequencies, how to find the accuracy, how to find the error values, and we have defined what is accuracy, what is error values, and we have seen an example also wherein I try to find the accuracy of a given classification model before classification as well as after classification, where we have taken the data set of Apache 1.6, the camel version, with respect to CK metric consisting of 6 metric suits and the dependent variable as your faulty or not faulty class. We found before classification the accuracy was 80.5, after classification it was 80.3, and then we saw an alternative method to represent your confusion matrix using the true positive values, false positive values, true negative values. The same way the contingency matrix or your confusion matrix was defined. So just to conclude, in the next upcoming session we'll be discussing about your decision tree based methods as a classification model. Thank you.